We are officially recording. Today is July 7th, Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us today. We had several people to say that they were not going to be able to attend today, so we are going to continue on the path of recording these sessions. Tonight, we're going to be working on our personal narratives. So I'm not only going to be recording the the audio, but I will be recording my screen as well. So please do feel free to interact in the chat, in the general FSOT chat, where it looks like everyone is, like 150 people are. If you have any responses, just so people who are not there or people who are not attending or maybe thinking about attending, they may want to join, I'll give them one more message. We are starting now. Okay, so with the narratives, well, first, since we have a smaller room right now, and Sandra was here, I think she was just saying that she had to go with family. Jasmine and Rachel, and because it's a smaller room right now, you can feel free to just come off mute if you like. But have you had a chance to complete your personal narratives and submit an application just yet? Yeah, we recently just started recording them the last two sessions or three sessions, and we were doing role play the last few sessions with consular, public diplomacy, and management cones. A lot of people seem like they enjoyed that. But yeah, I will share those recordings tonight. So today, I mean, you're in a good place because right now we're kind of starting over because come August, I don't remember if it's the 12th or the 25th, but the applications are going to be open, and we will also be able to register for the FSOT that's coming up in the end of September, going into the first week of October. Others, okay, that makes sense. Rachel, Sandra, are you taking the FSOT this upcoming session? I can hear you. I can hear you. Okay. 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 Not a problem. That'll be the next session. Well, tonight is a good night. We're going to do that tonight. And Rachel, what about you? Have you, uh, or are you planning to take the upcoming tests? Okay. Same. Me too. I feel like I needed just a little bit more time, and now I do feel more confident. I'm glad I'm not taking it tomorrow, but I do feel better about it now compared to before. So I'll be right there with you. So to yeah, you do. Okay. I appreciate that. Something that I plan to do personally before, well, after this call, probably tomorrow, just is go through my resume and each job pull out the bullet points that are project related, and then think additionally what projects may I have contributed to, led, or helped fulfill. If I even if I started it and I didn't, my tenure at a job didn't continue, what may have started it, that may have led to a larger win for that organization or company. And I'm just going to go through my resume, each job, pull those out, and start thinking about those and just listing them, and then start developing them as individual bullet points, like sub bullet points, so I can think, try to remember what my actual activity was for those different jobs and different projects. I've worked on different projects outside of my employment as well. I've done a lot of community work, and it's when I think about those, including the time I helped raise, I think like 20, I want to say it was like $26,000 for a new playground for an elementary school in my hometown. There's a lot of little things. Well, there's a lot of things like that that I can add. So I need to make sure I'm not leaving any projects on the table. Because when I think about these narratives that we're going to start here tonight, there's a lot of narratives and a lot of questions that if I were to just go in directly, I personally will miss a lot of opportunities that are in my real experience. So with the personal narratives today, um, here, let's see. Diana, thank you for joining. Can you mute? Oh, actually, I mute for you. Thank you so much for joining. And it looks like we have lots more people coming in. I really appreciate it. So tonight, and this has been recorded, just so you know. Tonight, we're going to be going over personal narratives. I did share some personal narratives um, that were approved, and they were actually successful in helping a public diplomacy officer obtain a role as a foreign service officer back in 2021, I believe. And I'm very grateful that I can share them. They are from the FSO Compass, which is a private e-learning course that I've paid for and am paying for, and I have extended this to the group as far as being able to share the content with you guys, well, with everyone here. And so we're just going to go over these today, and the actual personal narratives. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk about them, and then we're going to find ways to kind of kickstart our own thinking for our own projects and our own personal narratives. So every personal narrative, of course, they have a prompt, and every personal narrative should be written through the 10 dimensions. I think sometimes it fluctuates every year between 10 or 11. I'm not sure why. But to my knowledge, and anyone, please feel free to either add it to the chat or come up with me and tell me if it's more than 10 today. But I know that they are critical thinking, cultural adaptability, experience and motivation, which that might be the reason why it fluctuates. Information integration and analysis, leadership, negotiation, objectivity and integrity, planning and organization, presenting skills, teamwork, and there are 11, written communication. I look at these as filters. Everything that we do, all of us have these things in common in one way or another, regardless if you are a teacher, and a person who is an EMT, works in healthcare, you work in finance, regardless if you are a stay-at-home dad, Like it doesn't matter what you do on some level. There's the way you provide critical thinking, cultural adaptability, and all the others. And in doing that, you're able to pull from your own experiences what that would look like. So, example, negotiation to recognize overlapping interests, to recognize advantages and disadvantages of an agreement or conversation, to influence or persuade others using information, facts, reasoning, rather than emotion to resolve disagreement and meet mutually in a beneficial manner. Leadership, and I'm not going to read all of these. I'm more so just getting the brain going. So when I start reading these narratives, and these are the same narratives that are in the chat, by the way. So if you want to read along, you can read along. But I will be breaking down each of them as far as why they were successful. I do have some additional notes that I am going to be reading. And what I would like is, especially since we have a smaller room, for you to come off mute when we do talk about the narratives and share your thoughts on why they were successful. Just going to read a couple more of the dimensions. Cultural adaptability, to work, communicate effectively and harmoniously with people of other cultures, value systems, political beliefs, and economic circumstances, to recognize and respect differences in new and different cultural environments, and critical thinking, to discern what is appropriate, practical, and realistic in a given situation, to weigh relative merits of competing demands using sound judgment, to consider multiple points of view when making recommendations, to formulate creative alternatives or solutions to resolve problems. No matter what you do, there's something inside of these dimensions that you're able to create your own personal narratives with. So going directly into the personal narratives that are posted in the group, if you want to go to those, I think everyone is not in the general FSOT, at least not participating fully in the general FSOT group. I did share this link in the other groups. So if you don't have access to them, just go to the general FSOT chat group where I think all of us are initially from before we start breaking down to the individual groups, and you'll be able to see the personal narratives there. If you don't find them, I'll just go ahead and start reading them and then just listen with purpose and intent as we break them down. Each personal narrative is 1,300 characters. I want to put a dramatic pause there. It's 1,300 characters. It's not 1,300 words. That's a magazine article. 1,300 characters can be the spaces, every letter of a word, including punctuation, commas, periods, semicolons, and more. It's really 2 to 3 paragraphs, if that. So the point of tonight is, so we're going to be reading and dissecting the public service diplomacy officer and each of the personal narratives. And I would like for each of you, and I will call on you to share your thoughts on why it was a good response to the prompt, using the mindset of the dimensions that we shared earlier. So starting with substantive knowledge, this is the only section, and I don't know if anyone's taking notes. I'm just creating these pauses just in case you want to take these notes. Substantive knowledge is the only section where it's purely not only your opinion, but it's based on why you want to join the Foreign Service. Every other prompt is going to be based on aspects of what you've done in those perspectives. I will read those perspectives. I'll read those, and I'm going to use the word filters because you're going to be writing in the filter of that prompt. So substantive knowledge intellectual, interpersonal, communication, management, leadership, and those are the prompts, or those are the titles of the prompts, and we'll go through the responses of each. Starting with substantive knowledge. This person specifically, shoot, sorry, I just got a notification here. Maybe I should read it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you reposting those prompts. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Monty. And please correct me because I do want to make sure I say everyone's name correctly. So I'm going to start reading the first one now. And this is from the perspective of someone who is in the public diplomacy cone, and they are applying to be a foreign service officer. Their response is this: I would like to join. I'm sorry. I think someone's going to say something real quick before we. Okay, we're good. All right. I would like to join the Foreign Service as a public diplomacy officer to engage with diverse cross-section of the foreign public, to craft messaging that reflects American culture and values, and to participate in work that promotes mutual understanding between the American people and citizens of other countries. Therefore, I'm reading something else. Through my experiences in education, I have acquired skills that align with the competencies needed to be a successful public diplomacy officer. As a teacher, I regularly design clear and memorable ways to communicate complex ideas. To convey these ideas and engage an audience, I have learned how to optimize the use of various digital and print platforms. By working in diverse settings with blank organization and overseas, I have demonstrated the ability to build meaningful relationships that span racial, socioeconomic, and linguistic differences. As an international education consultant, I have managed the planning, logistics, and marketing of a series of virtual conferences that brought together hundreds of teachers from Latin American countries. My experiences have provided me skills related to communication, technology, interpersonal relationships, and management that I am confident will translate into a successful career in the public diplomacy track. And that's the end of the substantive knowledge. So my summary of what they've said is the candidate's desire to engage with diverse populations, craft messaging, and promote mutual understanding is, in a sense, why they would like to join the Foreign Service. Now, I would like to call on a couple of you to provide your feedback through the lens of those 11 dimensions, why this particular personal narrative was successful in being submitted, accepted, and helped them get the job as a Foreign Service officer. Starting with Moati. Moati, you there? Okay, for the sake of time, moving forward. Jasmine, based on the dimensions, the 11 dimensions, why do you feel, what key elements and why do you feel like this was a successful submission for substantive knowledge? It's, it's okay. Um, Rachel, maybe you can jump in and why do you think that this was a successful submission for a personal narrative through the lens of the 11 dimensions? Yeah, we can hear you. Mm, very good. Very good. That's honestly the first thing I noticed as well when I was reading it is that like wow, they really touched on most of them to a point of here we go. Making sure that we, the audience, and we're because the people who are receiving these personal narratives, they are foreign service officers, and they're going to be receiving them to help hire, and they will, and they see, and they're looking specifically for those dimensions to be checked. Our fellow future diplomat, Jonathan, which he is, I think he completed the oral assessment, and I think he's right now. He's in the background check, getting the security clearance. But that's one thing that he thought was very important for him to make sure that he remembered the 11 dimensions while he was crafting um, his personal narrative. So good job, very good observation there. All right, so we have so it's 7:30. We have obviously several more to read. I'm just gonna go to the next one, but my feedback on that one is very much in line with what was shared. So, sorry, just going back to my notes here. The key elements: engagement and diversity. So, their experience of working in diverse settings, communication skills, designing clear and memorable ways to communicate complex ideas, technology proficiency, utilizing various digital and print platforms, interpersonal relationships, building meaningful relationships across different cultures, religions, and races and creeds. The teaching point here is to emphasize how these experiences align with the competencies required for public diplomacy, specifically that that cone that, of course, they want to and they did accomplish in getting in, and demonstrate the candidate's preparedness for the role. Next, I'm going to read the intellectual response. So I'm just trying to make sure my screen is split here. So there we go. So when you go back and review the recording, you actually see what I'm looking at. Thank you for those that reshared the prompts and the responses. Sorry, wrong screen here. I have too many screens. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay, intellectual. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the blank country quickly implemented strict quarantine measures, which prohibited my students from leaving their homes. Over one weekend, I converted discipline, my discipline of courses, into classes that students could take online and access online. As the department leader, I worked closely with my colleagues as we chose an intuitively designed online learning platform. I surveyed our students and discovered that their greatest concern was the loss of social interaction resulting from prolonged online learning. A school survey of parents identified sustained internet connectivity as a top concern. By Monday, my colleagues and I had transformed our classes into self-paced program in which students learned by means of screencast and video conferencing. We ensured simplicity by using digital tools students were familiar with to increase social interaction. We embedded peer collaboration and teacher-student feedback loops. The self-paced nature of the courses allowed the students to access their work at times in which internet connectivity was best. As a result of the transformation, we succeeded in obtaining 100% student participation in 3 engaging and successful months of distance learning in the spring of 2020. Okay. Sandra, through the lens of the 11 dimensions, and thank you for reminding me to post those. Why do you think that this was a successful personal narrative? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. I completely agree. You're not missing anything there. Great job. So the the narrative summary, if I had to put it in one sentence, is that the quick adaptation or adaptation to online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, that was ultimately what made this person stand out intellectually and being able to adjust and support the entire team is being able to navigate and pivot um, in this terrible issue here. The key elements as shared that as Sandra also pointed out, and just going to add a couple more: problem solving, quickly converting courses to an online format, team collaboration, working closely with colleagues to choose an online platform. Thank you, Sandra. Research and analysis, you got that one as well. Surveying students and parents to identify concerns, innovation and adaptability, implementing a self-paced program with peer collaboration, which you also noted that as well. The point here that we would like to take away is to highlight the candidate's intellectual's agility. Highlight the candidate's intellectual agility, research abilities, and innovative thinking, and overcoming challenges. That was amazing. All right, next, interpersonal. And just so there's no surprises, uh, Tiana, you are next. Um, During my first year with blank organization, a 10th grade student at my school was killed in a school restroom by another student. This tragedy devastated the community. To minimize the negative impacts of such a disruptive event on my students' lives, I designed exercises that provided students the opportunity to constructively process their grief. The day after the event, I facilitated a structured discussion with students about the tragedy meant for us, our school, and the community at large. I then led students in brainstorming ways they could address this tragedy. I encouraged students to express their grief, with some making posters in the support of the school, some writing letters to the late student's family, and some writing letters to express their love to their own family and friends. In the initial days following the traumatic incident, many students were absent as a result of anxiety. I personally contacted those students, offered heartfelt support, and explained the support services available for them through the school. My adaptability in response to an unforeseen circumstance and my composure in supporting students through a traumatic situation ensured that the school was able to resume normal teaching and learning activities soon after the incident. Thoughts, Deanna? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, straight to the point. And it's great job. So this and just so everyone is on the same thinking, although we're identifying the 11 dimensions in the personal narratives, this is also going to help us write our own personal narratives, because we do have homework after this, and obviously, there's no real grade, there's no real reward for it other than you gain the experience and leave more confident. But I do recommend the practice of what I'm going to do personally tomorrow is go through your own resume, your own experiences of your jobs, your community involvement, your for-profit, nonprofit, any type of work that you've done or service you've completed. Go through every project you've ever done, just write them all out, and then go back and through the lens of the 11 dimensions, start developing and crafting a story, not even a story, just a couple of 2 or 3 paragraphs in how you made a difference in the impact, so you can go in real time, be able to answer these prompts and submit these prompts with your application. So, um, for the interpersonal, the narrative summary is supporting students through a tragic event. Key elements: empathy and compassion, as Deanna quickly pinpointed. Designing exercises to help students process grief. Leadership in crisis, facilitating discussions and brainstorming sessions. Direct support, personally contacting and supporting affected students. The teaching point here that we want to take away is stress the importance of interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, and crisis management. All right, going into communication. Moati, are you going to be available for this next one? Moati Fabrice? Okay, no pressure. All right. Let me see what Sandra did. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and read it for the sake of time. I want to make sure I keep my commitment with you every week to try to end between 7:50 and 7:55. Communication. 6 weeks after my wife gave birth to our son, she began experiencing severe abdominal pain. We drove to an emergency room in city and country blank. Due to a hospital policy, the nurses did not permit our baby to accompany my wife into the hospital. This was highly problematic because our baby had not yet learned to feed from a bottle. It was vital to his health and the well-being of my wife that she be permitted to breastfeed him. While caring for an irate infant, I remained composed and with communicated my concerns to the nurses in a specific language. I listened to the nurses' reasoning, asked questions to ensure understanding, and proposed alternative solutions. Realizing that the nurses were strictly enforcing organizational policy, I asked to speak with someone who had more authority. From previous experiences, I understood the importance of addressing authorities in blank country with warmth and conviction. I candidly explained the dilemma to the supervisor and respectfully advocated for my wife and baby. The supervisor agreed that reunifying them was the best course of action. The nurses, supervisor, and I created a plan to meet the needs of my wife and baby while complying with health guidelines. 6 hours after initially being admitted, my wife was permitted to breastfeed our son. This one is communication. Any volunteers for your thoughts on the 11 dimensions and why that this one was successfully submitted and accomplished? All right. The narrative summary here is that for communication purposes, the candidate, now Foreign Service officer, provided advocacy for his wife and baby in a foreign hospital. The key elements here are composure under pressure, remaining calm while caring for an irate infant, language skills, communicating effectively in a foreign language, negotiation skills, proposing alternative solutions and advocating respectfully, cultural awareness, understanding the importance of addressing authorities with warmth and conviction. Main takeaway here is to illustrate the candidate's strong communication skills, cultural competence, and effective negotiation tactics. Moving on into management, and then we have leadership right after, and we'll be done. Management. To increase collaboration among science teachers in Latin America, I planned, organized, and directed a series of virtual science education conferences. First, I assessed needs in the region by surveying more than 350 teachers in South America, Central America, and Mexico. I used these responses to develop conference objectives, tailor conference schedules, and recruit and select teacher presenters. Then I partnered with our regional school association, which is funded by the blank organization, to hire outside consultants to keynote the conference. I met with the 3 consultants and the 25 interested teacher presenters, defining expectations, delegating responsibilities, and providing feedback on their presentations. After creating an interactive conference program to communicate logistics, I successfully facilitated 2 conferences with a total of 275 attendees from 44 international schools. As a result of my efforts, the percentage of conference attendees who reported feeling connected to other science educators increased by 33%, understanding that increased collaboration was key to achieving regional science education objectives. And the Regional School Association offered me a permanent consultancy position to organize similar conferences in the future. In summary of this personal narrative, organizing virtual science education conferences. Key elements here: providing a needs assessment, surveying teachers to assess regional needs, planning and organizing, developing objectives and schedules, recruiting presenters, team leadership, defining expectations, delegating responsibilities, and providing feedback, facilitation, successfully facilitating conferences with significant participation. Main takeaway here is to highlight management skills, strategic planning, and the ability to lead and facilitate large-scale events. All right, one last one, and this is leadership. If you have that in front of you, you can read along. Because the teacher turnover rate at my school was high, team cohesion was crucial to ensuring that ambitious initiatives had the staying power to withstand personnel changes. Conscious of this, I prioritized team unity in my role as blank department leader. At the start of the year, I convened the department to develop a unified vision and goal. To better utilize this vision, I devised and implemented a technical solution to our system of grading. Then I arranged time for teachers to be released from their classes to access professional learning opportunities and to co-construct a grade-by-grade curricular progression of learning. I encouraged innovation by advocating teachers' proposals with school administration, and I designed a class schedule that maximized teachers' abilities to collaborate. Lastly, I provided opportunities for department members to build relationships outside the professional setting via informal gatherings. Through these actions, I fostered a positive team dynamic that led to multiple lasting changes, including increased organizational alignment of teaching practices, a redesigned grading system that reflected best practices in science education, an intuitive cloud storage system for course materials, and the development of a new course. In summary, fostering team cohesion and ensure successful initiatives. The key elements here: convening the department to develop a unified vision and goal, innovative solutions, implementing technical solutions for grading systems, professional development, arranging opportunities for professional learning and collaboration, advocacy, supporting teachers' proposals and creating collaborative schedules, team building, encouraging informal gatherings to build relationships. Main takeaway here is to emphasize the importance of leadership, fostering a positive team dynamic, and implementing lasting organizational changes. That concludes the writing prompts for this public diplomacy foreign service officer who was successful in going to A100 in 2021. So shout out to them. Maybe one day we can actually have some foreign service officers join us, and we can get the class participation up to about 20, not participation, but attendance up to about maybe 25 to 50. I know I can bring on easily some resident foreign service officers who are stateside, and they've already agreed to it as long as it's going to be enough people. So I know we have 150 people, so each one tell one. That in the month of August, we will be having more interviews and having more conversations with actual Foreign Service officers. As usual, the time right now is 7:49. If you enjoyed this section and also the engagement and questioning and also getting you involved, please do let me know. If you didn't and you feel like maybe I can improve, please do let me know. I don't want to waste anyone's time. I really appreciate everyone who did show up tonight. I know there were a lot of people who said that they were not going to want to be able to make it, but